As we are going to finalize our topic of gaseous exchange and respiration, today we are going to discuss about the factors affecting respiration, and we will complete our discussion by discussing other few aspects about the topic of respiration. So by starting with the factors affecting the process of respiration in the cell, as we know, respiration takes place, some of it is stages that are taking place in the cytosol of the cell, while the other stages they are taking place in the mitochondria. So we have different factors which affect the rate of respiration within the cell. Our first factor is age. Age, we are saying that the respiration rate decreases as the age increases. This is because children are very active than adults. Now, what is the reason behind that children they are very active than adults? This is because in children we need a lot of energy to perform the synthesis processes such as protein synthesis, and these are very important in the growth process. While in adult, the process of synthesis of protein and other materials required for growth tend to decrease as one grows. The rate is maximum in childhood and adolescent. But when it reaches adult, the rate of synthesis of material tend to diminish and then it start to decline because the rate of cell death exceeds the rate of cell production. So this is what we can comment about the rate of respiration in children and adults. So children, they are very active in terms of respiration, and because they have large surface area to volume ratio, also because their body size is small, so they have large surface area to volume ratio, that they are losing temperature easier, and by losing temperature easier means they need a higher rate of respiration in order to maintain their body temperature. So hiyo ndo reason behind. Kwanza ni energy kwa ajili ya synthesis of materials required for growth, lakini second ni kwa sababu ya large surface area to volume ratio which tend to lose more energy. Our second factor is temperature. In temperature, we are saying that during cold condition, respiration increases to maintain the body temperature. So as a high temperature, the respiration rate decreases. So at high temperature, respiration rate decreases. So temperature varies in inversely proportion to the rate of respiration. As temperature decreases, the rate increases so as to maintain temperature. And as temperature increases, environmental temperature. This is not body temperature. It is environmental. Or if it is body temperature, it is due to fever. Because some of the conditions such as fever, the body temperature can rise, or the temperature of the body fluids such as blood can rise, and by rising the temperature of the body fluids such as blood, you decrease the metabolic rate of the body. So this is also the factor which affects respiration. From there, we have physical activity, the type of activity performed by a person. Physical activity performed by a person can affect the rate of respiration. Now we are saying that the man who involved in heavy activities need more oxygen for respiration to release energy than inactive man. So if we have inactive man, let's say it is an elder, tunavyokuwa tuna mzee anashinda tu anakaa, nothing is doing, the rate of respiration is low as compared with the man who is doing heavy activities such as zege. Kuta mtu ana mwaga zege. Zege ni moja kati ya kazi ambayo ni very tough, au analima somewhere, let's say soil labda ina mawe, kwa unaweza kukuta ni anatumia high amount of energy, and then at the end of the day the rate of respiration is higher. So normally in this person pia hata rate ya consume food, I don't mean rate, but the quantity of food consumed with these people is normally higher. So don't wonder anything, don't just start saying maybe how comes huyu mtu inakuaje, why. the size of stomach in him is larger than others. No, it's not the matter. The matter is not the size of stomach, but the matter behind the higher rate of respiration, which tend to use faster the end product of a food substance. So the body will require more amount of food in order to supply glucose to the body and to maintain the rate of working of muscles. From there, we have sexing. For an adult human male, the average energy use is 1,750 kilocalories, which is greater than that of female use, which is 1,450 kilocalories. So the number of kilocalories used in male, they are higher as compared to female. That means the rate of respiration in male will be higher as compared to female. The reason behind it is because males, they are more muscular than female, and the reason behind is because males, they perform the works which uses more energy. So by performing the works which uses more energy, the muscles, they tend to adapt by undergoing hypertrophy. Kwa hiyo kuona wanaume wengi wana misuli ile pale, sio kwamba ni uchawi, sio kwamba wamezaliwa tu vile vile. It's not only because of testosterone. Even female, when they are performing the works which require large amount of energy, the muscles, their muscles, they can hypertrophy na unaweza kukuta wana misuli. Ndio maana hata kuna baadhi ya wanawake unakuta wana gluteus muscle inakuwa kubwa sana, wanaita kigimbi. That is gluteus muscle. So I mean it's not gluteus, sorry, it's vastus muscle. Yeah, I think it's vastus muscle. It's not gluteus. Gluteus is not in the leg, it's at the gluteal region. Sorry for that. It's just the matter of mixing some things in the anatomy. Now, what we are saying ni kwamba males wao kwa sababu wana perform sana function, so their muscle, they tend to adapt by hypertrophy. Hypertrophy maana yake zinaongezeka, size zinakuwa kubwa. So zikiwa kubwa zinakuwa zinarequire pia large amount of energy compared to muscles in female. Body size, if we are talking about body size, in general, in warm-blooded animals, kwa wale ambao wana maintain their body temperature, tulisema kwamba small body size means large superior to volume ratio. So the smaller the organism, the higher the basal metabolic rate. The smaller the organism, the higher the rate of respiration, as how we discussed in the basal metabolic rate. A rat has a higher metabolic rate than a cat, which has a higher metabolic rate than a dog. This is partly because small organisms, they have higher surface area to volume ratio and therefore lose more heat to the environment. So consequently, they require faster rate of respiration in order to maintain their body temperature. What we are saying, let I magnify this photo and let's continue with our discussion. Consequently, so we are saying, consequently, they have to burn more fuel to maintain nearly constant body temperature. Consequently, they have to burn more fuel to maintain a nearly constant body temperature. Kwa hiyo small mammals, they are needed to maintain body temperature by burning more fuel. So the rate of respiration in these small mammals will be faster as compared with the rate of respiration in large mammals. From there, tunasema ni state of health of an individual, that is physiological condition. During starvation, yani mtu akiwa amefunga siku nyingi, siku 3, siku 4, siku ngapi, without eating, the rate of respiration falls as the body attempt to conserve energy. Kwa ni body yenyewe inaleni kwamba huyu mtu amefunga mfungo mrefu siku 3. So body itself laying and the rate of respiration tend to fall. And during illness, the rate of respiration increases kwa sababu ya zile pyrogens, they tend to increase the rate of respiration and hence increasing the body temperature kwa sababu ya increasing the set point of the hypothalamus. Tuenda kuidiscuss hiyo point kwenye homeostasis kivipi inatokea. Also, during pregnancy and breastfeeding, the rate of respiration increases so as to fulfill the needs of maternal and fetus. So during pregnancy and breastfeeding, the rate of respiration tend to increase ili kuweza kufanya synthesis reaction ziweze kufanya faster in the body and to fulfill the demand ambayo huyu mother atakuwa anahitaji kufeed herself and the kid as well. From there, we are saying the body composition. Body composition is also one among the factors affecting the rate of respiration. In body composition, we are saying that for two individuals of the same age, weight and sex, the one with the greater proportion of lean tissues, that means muscle, liver, nerve, and kidney. Lean tissues, muscle, liver, nerve, and kidney. These tissues are using high amount of energy. So the one with high amount of these tissues will have a higher basal metabolic rate because lean tissues consume more energy than relatively inactive fatty tissues. Kwa hiyo tunachokisema ni kwamba kama nilivyokuambia mwanzoni, male they are more muscular. So by being more muscular, the muscle they hypertrophy zinaongezeka size, and by the hypertrophy of the muscles, that means at the end of the day we will end up with by hypertrophy of the muscles we will end up with a condition in which they will consume more energy. So for example, here we have a question. In some cells, the total yield of ATP per molecule of glucose is lower than the actual. Account for the statement. This is one among the questions which were very confusing in my advanced level, that how comes now. Kwa hiyo hili ni moja kati ya swali ambalo lilikuwa linanichanganya sana, kwa sababu ya nature yake lilivyo, linaonyesha kabisa kwamba ni swali gumu, kwamba total energy ya ATP inayokuwa produced ni lower than actual, and the explanation they are somehow contradicting, lakini you must understand the concept and then we can move to another concept. So tunachokisema hapa ni kwamba the total energy yield is lower in some cells because the total molecule of reduced NAD generated by glycolysis in cytosol are unable to enter the mitochondria directly. Because the two molecules of reduced NAD generated by glycolysis in cytosol are unable to enter mitochondria directly. Instead, the electrons must be transferred into the mitochondria via a shuttle system. Depending on the system used, this transfer may result in these electrons entering the electron transport chain at the level of FAD-H2 instead of the level of NAD-H2. Now, if they entering at the level of FAD-H2, kulingana hiyo system ambayo electrons zimepitia, maana yake at the end of the day tutapoteza 2 ATP. Kwa sababu gani? Kwa sababu FAD yenyewe inaingia kwa level chini, inatengeneza 2 ATP instead of 3 ATP. In such cases, let's continue with the explanation of this question in the next pages. In the next page, and let's see the explanation of this question in the next pages. So we are saying, this is not the one, this is not the page I wanted to magnify so as to show. So we are saying, in such cases, two molecules of NADH2 derived from glycolysis give rise to 2 rather than 3 molecules of ATP, reducing the total yield to 36 rather than 38 ATPs molecule per molecule of glucose. So I think this concept is very easy. It is because some of the NAD molecules which are produced in glycolysis, they can't enter the mitochondria directly. So they are passing through electron carriers. And by passing through the electron carriers, sometimes they can bypass through the way which is not correct, and then the destination can be incorrect. So within the mitochondria with the electron transport chain, incapacitated NADH2 and FADH2 could not become oxidized as donating their electrons to cytochrome chain, and through inhibition of Krebs cycle enzymes, no more NADH2 and FADH2 could be produced in the mitochondria. The Krebs cycle would stop. Respiration would be anaerobic. Kwa hiyo in any of the condition ambapo tuta inhibit cytochrome, kwa mfano tulisema kwamba cytochrome oxidase is inhibited by cyanide. So in condition ambapo tuta inhibit huyo cyanide, tukiminhibit tu cyanide, that means at the end of the day tutashindwa kupata end products zinazotakiwa, because the electron transport chain will be inhibited. Now from there, let's discuss a few differences about the aerobic respiration and photosynthesis. Now, as we know that in aerobic respiration we are doing oxidative respiration, oxidative phosphorylation, but in photosynthesis we are doing photosynthesis or photophosphorylation. Now there is a small difference between aerobic and photosynthesis, aerobic respiration and photosynthesis, because this is the breakdown reaction, but this is the synthesis reaction. And in some of the question you can be asked that show or give the three reasons which can explain that the Krebs cycle is the reverse of the Calvin cycle, or the Calvin cycle is the reverse of the Krebs cycle. Now in terms of differences, aerobic respiration is the catabolic process because it involves the breakdown, but this one is the anabolic process because it involves synthesis. So it's the catabolic process and it results in the breakdown of carbohydrate molecule into simpler inorganic molecule or compounds. But this is the anabolic process, which in the synthesis of carbohydrate molecule from simple inorganic compound. So which result, this is not which result in the synthesis in the anabolic process, which result in the synthesis of carbohydrate molecule from simple inorganic compounds. In the second point, we are saying that energy is incorporated into ATP for intermediate use. Energy is incorporated into ATP for intermediate use. But here, energy is accumulated and stored in the carbohydrate. Some ATP is formed. Some of the ATP for photosynthesis they are formed, but energy is not stored in the ATP, but it is stored in the carbohydrate. Here, the breakdown of compounding tend to release energy which is stored in the ATP for temporary use. In the anaerobic respiration, oxygen is used up, but in the photosynthesis, oxygen is released. The process in the anaerobic respiration, the process results in the decrease in dry mass, because you are using the carbohydrate molecule. But in the photosynthesis, the process results in the increase in dry mass. In eukaryotic cell, the process occurs in mitochondria, but photosynthesis occurs in chloroplast. Then the process takes place continuously throughout lifetime or cells and is independent of chlorophyll and light. The process takes place continuously throughout the lifetime of all cells and is independent of chlorophyll and light. But here the process occur only in cells possesses chlorophyll and only in the presence of light. Only in the cells possesses chlorophyll and only in the presence of light. That is the major differences between the photosynthesis and the respiration. Now, in terms of similarities, these processes they tend to have some of the few similarities. Similarities between aerobic respiration and photosynthesis. First, both are energy converting processes. It doesn't matter if the process consumes energy or releases energy, but it is the energy converting processes. Then both require mechanism for exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. They both require mechanism for exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Both require special organelle for eukaryotes, that is eukaryotic cell. That is mitochondria for respiration and chloroplast for photosynthesis. Mitochondria and chloroplast, they resemble prokaryotic cell. This is also the similarity. The mitochondria and the chloroplast, which are the organelle which perform these processes, they resemble the prokaryotic cell. How? Just go to look my cytology video. You can see how the mitochondria and the chloroplast, they resemble the prokaryotic cell. From there, organisms in possessing circular DNA and a prokaryotic type protein synthesizing system. So actually, organisms in possessing It's not organisms, it is the organelles in processing circular DNA. The organelles where these processes they occur, they process circular DNA and the prokaryotic type um, of ribosomes. So the light reaction of photosynthesis resembles cell respiration in the following ways. Light reaction resemble cell respiration. Why? Phosphorylation occur, that is synthesis of ATP from ADP and phosphate. Second, this is coupled to flow of electrons along a chain of electron carriers kama ilivyo kwenye electron transport chain. Then ya tatu, the electron carriers must be organized on membranes for coupling to take place. These are the cristae in mitochondria and the thyroid in chloroplast. The electron carriers, they are arranged in membranes. This is also the similarity between the right reaction and cell respiration. So all of these, they can appear in your exam as questions. What are the similarities between the right reaction and the cell respiration? What are the similarities between this and that? All of these, they can appear in your exam as the questions. Now, let's see the concept of inhibition of the process of ATP by high levels of ATP. As I told you before that cyanide can act as a chemical which can inhibit cytochrome oxidase, and by inhibiting the cytochrome oxidase can inhibit the whole process of aerobic respiration to occur, or the whole process of respiration to occur, and hence the cell death. Now also we have a mechanism in which we have the end product inhibition. In the end product inhibition mechanism, we have the high level of the end product tend to inhibit the production, or tend to inhibit the reactions which are producing that end product. Now we are saying that enzyme catalyzing the conversion of glucose to glucose 6-phosphate and then to fructose 6 and then to fructose 6-phosphate, and then here it's not and then 2, and then fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6 diphosphate. So we have two enzymes here which we are talking about. We are talking the first enzyme is the enzyme which convert glucose 6-phosphate glucose to glucose 6-phosphate. The first committed step. If you viewed my glycolysis videos, we called this the first committed step. So enzyme ambayo inakataza first committed step ndio glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, and hii hapa then 2, hii hapa unaitoa, hii hapa haipo. So and fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6 diphosphate, hii tunaita second committed step. Kwenye glycolysis step ya kwanza tunaita first committed step. Step ya pili ya isomerization sio committed, it is reversible. Tunaposema committed maana yake it is irreversible process, ndio tunaita committed. Lakini process ikiwa reversible kama if this is not a committed step, this is not a committed, but this one is the committed step. So tunaposema a first committed step, that means process ambayo ni complete, haina kurudi nyuma. But a reversible process like this, it is not a committed step. A reversible process, it is not a committed step. Kwa tunachokisema ni kwamba nini? First committed step and the second committed step, hizi hapa they can be inhibited by ATP. Kwa sababu gani? Hizi ni enzymes ambazo zina catalyze phosphorylation. Kwa ni kweli zenyewe zinatumia ATP as one among the substrate, kwa sababu zinachukua glucose labda zina-activate with ATP to form glucose 6-phosphate. The phosphokinase and phosphofructokinase respectively. Now the important thing to note is that the two enzymes mentioned above are important regulatory points of glycolytic pathway. They are two important regulatory points for glycolytic pathway. The key control element is phosphofructokinase, which is inhibited by high level of ATP. Phosphofructokinase ambayo ndio huyu wa pili anakuwa inhibited by the high level of ATP. Huyu mdudu tunamuita nani? Huyu mdudu tunamuita ndo regulatory point wa reactions that to the glycolysis. Huyu mdudu phosphofructokinase enzyme, very important, the enzyme which catalyze the second committed step in the glycolysis, but it is the third stage of glycolysis from fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6 diphosphate. So the important thing to note is that the two enzymes mentioned above are important regulatory points of glycolysis. The key control element is phosphofructokinase, which is inhibited by high level of ATP. Inhibition of phosphofructokinase results in an accumulation of glucose 6-phosphate, which in turn inhibits phosphohexokinase. Thus, when the cell has the higher level of ATP, it inhibits glycolytic pathway. Glycolytic pathway. So hivyo ndivyo ambavyo tunamaliza concept ya inhibition by high level of ATP. Inhibition by high level of ATP. Now tuangalie few differences between photophosphorylation and oxidative phosphorylation. Hizi ni concept za kumalizia ili kufanya uwe competent kujibu maswali yote. Some of these questions they appear in the NECTA exam. So when we are completing the topic, it is better unafahamu. So photophosphorylation na oxidative phosphorylation zina some of the difference. Tumesoma hizo kwenye nutrition, lakini sio mbaya tena tukazirudia huku. First, photophosphorylation occur in chloroplast, but this occur in mitochondria. The second occur during day, yani mchana. Hii hapa occur all the time, either day or night. Ya tatu, light dependent reaction. Lakini in oxidative phosphorylation, oxygen dependent reaction. It doesn't depend on light, but it depends on oxygen. Ya nne tunasema found in anabolic reaction. Ya reactions which tend to synthesize the molecules. But this is found in the catabolic reaction, that are the reactions which involve the breakdown of compounds. Number 5, occur in photosynthetic plants only. Yani plants ambazo zinafanya photosynthesis. Because this occur in both animals and plants. Number 6, water is used, while in the oxidative phosphorylation, water is released. Number 7, use energy from light to form ATP, but this use energy from oxidation to form ATP. Number 8, electron donor is chlorophyll, while here electron donor is reduced hydrogen carrier. Electron acceptor is chlorophyll. Here the electron acceptor is oxygen gas. Number 10, few ATP are formed, and here many ATP are formed. Number 11 can be cyclic or non-cyclic. This one is a non-cyclic process. Now pia tuna swali, nimekwambia kwamba hapa tuna finalize. So by finalize tunakwenda discuss concept za aina mbalimbali kwa njia ya maswali. Why aerobic respiration produces more energy than anaerobic respiration? I think this is very easy, because in anaerobic respiration a great deal of energy remains locked within lactate and ethanol in anaerobic respiration. So for example, here we have similarities between cell respiration and combustion. Combustion tunajua kwamba inatumia oxygen na inatokea kwenye non-living tissues, yani kwenye engines, inorganic engines za magari za pikipiki. Combustion occur. So let's see some of the similarities between cell respiration and combustion. In both, complex organic compound are broken down in presence of oxygen. So kwenye respiration tunaweza break down glucose, fatty acid or protein. Lakini kwenye combustion tuna break down compounds kama petrol ambazo ni long chain hydrocarbons. Tuna break down to release energy. Lakini pia in both, carbon dioxide is produced. Kwa sababu gani? Tunatumia oxygen kwenye ku break down hizo organic compound. Tunajua kwamba the combustion of organic compound in the presence of oxygen will release carbon dioxide is one among the product. In both, energy is released. So there is release of energy, carbon dioxide production, and the breakdown of the complex of organic compounds in the presence of oxygen. Now let's discuss about the final concept and the final page in our topic about the differences between respiration and combustion. You have already seen the similarities. Now let's see the difference about these two processes. Now the first difference is that respiration occurs in the side of the living cell, inside of the living cell, but combustion does not require living cell. So combustion occurs in the non-living cells. And the second difference, energy released step by step. Energy is released step by step, and the energy released, most of it is stored in ATP. But here, a large amount of energy is released at once time because the reaction did not occur step by step. And number three, most of the energy is stored in ATP molecule. Here in the combustion, ATP is not formed. Number 9, respiration is regulated by enzymes. Combustion, there is no enzyme because the reaction of combustion is not a pathway, it's just a single reaction. Then several intermediate are formed in respiration. Here, no intermediate produced, no intermediate product are produced, no intermediate product are produced. Number 6, there is a very small rise of temperature, where here the temperature rises is very high. Temperature rises is very high. Number 7, respiration is biochemical process, while combustion is a physiochemical process, not biochemical. And number 8, which is the last point, no light produced during respiration, while in combustion, light may be produced during combustion. This is the end of our topic of gaseous exchange and respiration. If God wishes, let's meet next topic, solving questions and searching for more new concepts may make you more competent. Bye bye. I am Dr. Mlelwa, and we are finishing this topic according to our syllabus. The next topic is homeostasis and excretion, but we can discuss another topic and then we can come back to the topic of homeostasis and excretion later. Thank you everybody, and I wish you nice studies. Continue to stay with me for more topics in biology, physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Thank you everybody.